This is your place for all things Detroit Red Wings and all things Chicago Blackhawks. With your hosts, Jordan Linscott, David Barnhouse, Nick LePage, and Tim Stompanato. This is the Stick Blade Podcast. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of the Stick Blade Podcast. It is your place for all things Detroit Red Wings, all things Chicago Blackhawks, and news around the NHL. On tonight's show, it's going to be a little bit of what we call a shot episode. Basically, it's going to be a lot of topics, but just quick. Not a ton of in-depth news to talk about for the Wings and the Hawks, but there was a lot of movement that's smaller transactions going on. The league fairly quiet overall this week. The only piece of news that we could really have to touch on, just the Brendan Lemieux bite, I guess we are going to call it, with Brady Tkachuk. And then Alex Ovechkin getting ready to shatter more goal records. If you haven't heard, that's kind of his thing. I'm your host for tonight, Jordan Linscott, and I'm joined by my co-hosts, Tim Stompanato and David Barnhouse. Everybody, welcome to the show. Fellas, how are we doing?
Doing great. Had a nice Thanksgiving weekend. The Hawks beat the Blues. We got some decorations up on the house. All in all, a good one.
Yeah, Thanksgiving, great. To everyone out there, happy Hanukkah if you celebrate it.
So Nick's not here again. It's another three-man show, but we're still gonna keep rolling with it. And like I said, this week's kind of like a shot week. It's gonna be very quick. On the docket for the Red Wings, Sebastian Cossa continues to look great playing for the Edmonton Oil Kings. He's posted, I think, is a 2.14 goals against average this year. So pretty good numbers from him. Basically, if you look at the NHL, that's about starting caliber goaltender numbers. Now, granted, it's the CHL, not the NHL, yes, but you have to assume as he gets older, he gets experienced, those numbers are going to probably translate with him. Also, the fact that the Detroit Red Wings, they lead the NHL in production with players under the age of 25. I think it's 110 points right now that they have. So the Wings are really embracing the youth movement, and it's starting to show. The fact that Filip Zadina got moved to the fourth line their previous game, just trying to really break down and understand what's even going on with that move, because it seems very productive for him. Just doesn't play to his strengths much. Kind of touched on that for a little bit. Then we have a couple of roster transactions. Joe Veleno's out with an upper body injury, and last I knew, Danny DeKeyser was off COVID protocol. So just those are two quick subtractions from the roster. And then I think the Wings finally have to have the conversation: is Alex Nedeljkovic the certified starter going forward for this club? Because he's looked great the past several games that he's been the starter for. Tim, walk us through what's going on over in the Hawks side.
Yeah, absolutely. Not too much going on this week, honestly. Like you said, Jordan, a lot of little more transactional information. You've got Philip Kurashev just got sent down to Rockford about 2 hours ago as of recording this. And in turn, him going down, we called up Josiah Slavin, one of our prospects, a late round pick. Really excited to get him up with the club for the first time. And then other news in Rockford, unfortunately, Lucas Reichel, our number one prospect, our top offensive prospect, nasty injury, really bad hit, sent him flying into the boards. He went sort of head and chest first, had to get carried off the ice. You hate to see it. You hope he's doing okay. No more information yet on that. In the NHL side of things, Gaudette was placed on waivers and was actually claimed by Ottawa. So it's a shame to lose him. I don't think that's what the team wanted, but they wanted him to be playing, so they put him down. We'll get into that. And then finally, I want to get into Kirby Doc doing everything well, but finishing and face-offs. And I think he's going to be okay.
He's going to be fine.
Yeah.
The only pieces of news on the NHL side that I have are the Brendan Lemieux bite on Brady Tkachuk. We've talked about this sort of behavior before.
Yeah, this is rough.
Not a good look for like the sport in general. And then again, Alex Ovechkin looking to break another goal record. Just, I think I can speak collectively for everyone on this show. He should go down as the best goal scorer of all time.
100%.
You know what? We started with the Red Wings last week. Tim, let's go ahead and start with the Blackhawks this week.
Absolutely. So let's start things off with our transactional side of things. So Philip Kurashev, playmaking forward who has some two-way responsibility, hit the ice running really fast last year, has struggled this year. I've often talked about how I'm still really high on him. That said, we started the year on the second line with Taves, and he just hasn't looked as comfortable and confident as he has last year. He's not making as many plays. He's not as decisive. To me, it's reading a lot as confidence and maybe even a little bit of taking it for granted. You had a big year as a rookie. You come in, you sort of look at it as a gimme. I know Derek King talked about that a little bit. He got scratched a couple days ago when King said, might serve as a little bit of a wake-up call. They gave him another chance after that, and they said, you know what? And this is, again, something that always has to be reminded. Going down to Rockford is not a punishment. It's putting someone in the best possible place to succeed. How many times have we said on this podcast, progress isn't linear? Having and putting Kurashev down where he can play some big minutes in Rockford, maybe hone some of the skills that he's been missing, maybe get some of that confidence back up, tear it up and come back up. That's my hope for him because I'm still very high on him. But I've been watching him play. He needs something right now to change because he's not looking sharp where he's at. I
mean, he had that chance. What was it? Was it last night or the night before where he was like right in front of the net, had all sorts of room and just did not convert?
That's my most frustrating thing. Again, that's the story of a lot of the Hawks, unfortunately. But that's one of my things. Every game, Kurashev is going 90% of the way. There's a couple of grade A opportunities or grade A chances, or he's created something, but it's not going that extra step. And I think that's a combination of youth, confidence. I think it's just youth and confidence, frankly. But what's cool is we got to call up in turn Josiah Slavin, who was a 7th round pick for us. It's not super common that a 7th round pick ever makes it to the NHL at all. This might just be a call up. He might never play, but it's exciting to have him called up. He's either the cousin or the brother of Jacob Slavin, the Carolina defenseman, but he's got like 15 points in 30 games with Rockford. He's been somebody that a lot of the, Scott Powers, that sort of group have been keeping an eye on, saying like, this is a guy that could get a cup of coffee this year. So realistically, with Reichel hurt, it makes sense to bring up someone like Slavin, who maybe he can chip in offensively. Maybe he gets that chance to shine. It wouldn't be the first time that a 7th or a late round pick in general, was able to translate to the NHL. So that's a cool opportunity for him.
And like, that's the thing, like getting sent to the AHL, like, are you playing at the level that NHL is? No, but at the same time, I think players do acknowledge this. Like sometimes that is a place where you can go either as a wake-up call, but also to refine skills to get yourself to that level where you stick around at the NHL.
And that's exactly my thing. It's a lot easier to take chances and make mistakes in the AHL. Not that it's not competitive, not that it's not still, an intense league, but you're not constantly worried about, if I make this choice and it breaks bad, am I going to get sat? Am I going to go down? There's a lot more room to play, get creative, explore your game a lot more in the AHL. Yeah. And that is what Kurashev needs.
Yeah. You got to hone your skills. Like Veleno, like we talked about, he's not bad, but we didn't want to give him 4th line minutes. So give him time to play more for the Griffins. Same with Kurashev. He's going to get more time to play with the Hogs. He's going to get more minutes to really work out some of those things he needs to fine tune. Yeah, Slevin, who knows, or Slavin, who knows what you're getting? 7th-round pick. I mean, as Wings fans, Henrik Zetterberg was a 7th-round pick. I was looking at it, and I just realized there's another player that was taken 2 picks after Zetterberg in the 7th round that became an NHL All-Star. Radim Verbata.
I don't know if I ever realized that
he was picked 212.
Wow.
Zetterberg was 210. He was 212.
I mean, that's exactly what I think of when I think of like a late round pick hitting is like Zetterberg, Datsus. Like, yeah, some guys just hit their stride late, and it's not unreasonable to think that. And again, I'm not saying Slavin's going to come up and be a first line forward. God, no.
No.
But if he can come up and be a bottom 6 guy, if he can be reliable, if he can be consistent, if he can chip in a point here and there, that's better than what a lot of the team's doing right now. And to your point, David, we've been putting Kurashev on the 4th line for a while, and that's not his game. He's a playmaker. Like he's responsible, but he's a playmaker. Like we want him generating, playing with higher skilled players, someone that if he can set up a play, someone can finish it. It's not conducive. And again, we've got guys in the lineup, and I've got my opinions on some of the grinding guys in the lineup. I love a grinder. I love a, bottom 6, gritty player, but half your team can't be them. And that's kind of where, go ahead.
I was like, you have room for like maybe 3 of those guys.
100%. And right now we've got about half our team is that, it feels like. You've got Jujhar Khaira, who I love. Carpenter is still responsible and in a good position. Mike Hardman is someone that the coaching staff really likes. Him and Reese Johnson are guys that aren't sitting. They're playing every game. When guys like Gaudette, who we're going to talk about in a second, get sent down, when Kurashev's playing 4th line minutes, when Strome is a healthy scratch, it boggles my mind a bit when we can't score a goal, but we're stacking the bottom 6 with just full grinders. But that said, you can't put Kurashev in that 4th line role.
Right.
And so I would much rather see him in Rockford tearing it up with Alex Nylander, with Reichel when he's healthy, even with Evan Barrett or, some of the other players that we've got down there. I would rather that than see him struggle on the 4th line going up against guys that they're there to stop the other team. I don't know.
And I mean, the thing is, like I said, getting sent to the AHL is not always a punishment. Like,
no, it can be, but it more often than not, it's a development step.
And that's the thing. Like a lot of players in the American Hockey League, they're very much fringe NHLers. Like they are just below that line of being able to compete for everyday NHL ice time. And is it the same? No, it's not the same competition, but it's not like night and day off. Like it's still very much a competitive league.
And I am actually just pulling up Kurashev's age because I don't want to. Oh my God, he's 22. Like,
so he's still got plenty of time.
100%. And he was a rookie last year. He's got plenty of time. Some time in Rockford cooking. Again, you've got Bodan in Rockford. You've got Mitchell in Rockford. Isaac Phillips is in Rockford. Regula's in Rockford. You've got Delia and Malcolm Subban and Arvid Soderblom are in Rockford. It's not like he's going to a team of like tweeners and older NHL journeymen that are just looking for a contract now.
It's not a punishment.
I think this will be the best thing possible for Kurashev. That being said, the person I wish he was playing with, and the person who probably would have gotten a call up if he wasn't injured, Lucas Reichel, he has been proving all year that he's our number 1 prospect, and he's our number 1 offensive prospect. And we have a pretty depleted offensive prospect pool. He is a shining light in that. And he took a nasty hit and spill. I think it was a bad hit, frankly. It was up against the Milwaukee Admirals. I think it was a really nasty hit, honestly. That said, it was one of those weird, awkward, bad plays, bad hits, but then he got tripped up as well from it. And he just went face and chest first into the boards and had to be helped off the ice. That's the stuff that always scares me. I always hate, as long as a player can get off the ice themselves, okay. Yep. But he had to get helped off the ice by a trainer, and I think Ian Mitchell. And we're going to, last I've heard is that we're going to hear tomorrow, Anders Sorensen, the interim head coach of the Rockford Ice Hogs, is scheduled this talk already. That's when we'll get an update. All we know now is that he's out.
Yeah, it was. You had me watch it before we started, and it was painful looking.
Yeah.
But like you're saying, the only positive takeaway from it is that he was walking. He was moving. Yep. He could had full function of his limbs. It's always scary when someone has to go off on the stretcher, and you're like,
exactly.
Okay?
He was helped off the ice, but he was still able to move and get off the ice. Yeah, he didn't have to get off on a stretcher, which is the nightmare scenario.
Yep. So
it's just a shame because he's been driving Rockford. Yeah. They've been doing interviews about like, hey, part of our game plan is create situations where we can get Reichel the puck.
Yeah.
And that's, keep in mind, on a team with seasoned NHL goal scorer Brett Connolly, with Alex Nylander, who has a ton of skill for all of his other, whatever you think of him, a ton of NHL skill. This is the guy that's driving the team, driving the offense. I am so happy that he's in Rockford currently and not being rushed up. Yeah. With him, there's nothing to say. You hope he's okay. Not only because he's, I hope he's okay as a human being, but also he's our number one prospect that your heart just sinks in all forms.
Yeah. We had a scary situation in the SHL last season with Sider, where he got hit into the boards pretty hard.
I remember,
I think he just came back in the third period, and I'm like, oh, okay.
Well, he's a different story. The man is a beast.
What was it? Was it Dallas or Vegas where he took the puck off the knee and we thought, oh no.
And he went out, and then he comes back again. He's a dream defenseman. He's gonna be. I see him like a John Merson with you, and just like not in his like style of play, but just in that warrior like. built to last. But for once, this isn't about Moritz Seider. This is about the Rockford Ice Hogs. Keep Moritz Seider to the Detroit side of things. Thank you very much. He doesn't need to be over here. That said, losing Reichel is a blow, especially when we're losing other NHL forwards. We waived Adam Gaudette, wanted to send him down. This is a weird one. I don't know about you guys. I don't know how much you follow it. I feel weird about it. I liked Gaudette. He's a two-way player that has some offensive upside. He changed his diet. He struggled with some health issues and some diet issues. He's been able to put on actual muscle weight now. He's looked better. This is a guy that just never got a chance. They've been trying to find chemistry all year with people. And he's been in the same weird doghouse as Strome, where I don't even think he's in a doghouse. It's just they haven't found a spot for him. Mm-hmm. And he's another one that's not thriving on the fourth line. In my mind, Gaudette is a phenomenal third line, defensively responsible, can chip in a little bit of offense. He'd be a great third line player. But he never got into it. And Derek King talked about when they put him on waivers, it's like, we want him to play. He's been positive throughout this whole thing. He's been supportive. He's expressed that he wants to play. He's probably hoping that he gets picked up. Good kid. I get it. We're hoping he doesn't, just so we have him. And he got picked up by Ottawa, which I think Ottawa's actually a good place for him because they have openings. They have areas where he can come in. They didn't have that in Vancouver when he was there. And he struggled health-wise in Vancouver. They didn't have it here in Chicago. Ottawa, they might actually have a place for him to succeed. So I wish him the best. Unfortunately, like I said, our team is filled with, gritty fourth line grinders, and they're filling our bottom six. We have guys that could have cleared waivers to make room for Gaudette. And if I thought Gaudette being waived meant Strome, who's an offense generator, would be getting into the lineup, I'd say great. But right now, it's a miracle if Henrik Borgstrom plays, who is another offensive playmaker. I struggle sometimes, and I know there's a bigger picture. I have to believe there's a bigger picture, but I struggle with the chemistry and the blending of the lines right now when we aren't scoring. We're just not scoring, and we're keeping in guys that don't provide offensive upside when there are some on the bench that do.
See, now you understand how we felt with the Blashill blender.
I knew what you felt with the Blashill, but remember, Quenneville was no stranger to just changing things up. Just, okay, switch it up now. He would get impatient and he'd switch things up. Jeremy Colleton was sort of the opposite, where he would ride his line combinations too long when they weren't doing anything. There's got to be a fine line between cues, mix 'em ups in the Blashill blender and not making adjustments. Because there's times when I like the Blashill blender because he's clearly trying to find what combination is clicking at that time. It's just a matter of you got to be strategic about it. And we lost Gaudette, which in the grand scheme, we gave up Highmore for him. Easy come, easy go. It's not a terrible loss. We didn't trade a second or a first round pick for him, but we could have, if we knew there wasn't a place for him in the organization, we could have traded him for a third or a fourth round pick. It's something. I don't know.
Like, this is the thing that's kind of hard about where Chicago's at right now is the team. It has players that are locked in that are NHL players, and you've got guys who are inked to contracts that you're going to have to honor them, right? Mm-hmm. And then you've got those guys, but then you've also got like this bigger group of guys who you're trying to fit throughout the rest of the roster while also staying competitive. Because, I mean, we talked about this, I think, a lot before the season started. Chicago kind of went, win now mode during this off season. And I think it would be, I think it would be hard to explain to fans that you're trading away like these veterans when you're trying to quote unquote win now, when you just signed Seth Jones and you just got Marc-Andre Fleury. Like, I got to admit, I think that would be a hard sell for management.
And there's a lot to be said about sort of deep down knowing that Bowman was a lame duck GM and allowing him to make some of those final breath moves. But yeah, no, where we're at now, what's done is done. We have shifted to a more win now mode to maximize those veteran contracts and whatnot. And it's tough seeing a guy like Gaudette go when there's fringe guys in the lineup versus a guy that has the NHL experience and potential. That said, one of our second year, technically third year rookie, but he lost all of last year with a wrist injury. Kirby Doc, one of our young forwards, you know what? He's looking good. There are things I could complain about. I wish his faceoffs, whatever Strome did in the offseason, I think he picked up juggling. That's not a joke. That was a legitimate thing. Mm-hmm. He picked up juggling to strengthen his dexterity and his hand-eye coordination to improve faceoffs, and it worked. Doc's got to do that because he's got to get better at faceoffs. That said, he's doing everything else right. I'm not worried about the fact that he's not finishing. I'm not worried about the face-offs because he's 20. Mm-hmm. You get a little older, you get a little stronger. When you're 20 years old and still coming into your body, what are you going to do? Beat Connor McDavid at a face-off? Well, no, get out of here. That said, in a year or two, if he keeps on getting stronger, keeps on getting more comfortable, he's going to be a force in this league. And it's not just getting physically stronger because he's like 6'4", but it's knowing how to use your body as well and using that, strategically. Jordan, we were just talking about this the other night. Doc has looked good. He's been driving play. He's been, winning puck battles, getting now, not the face-offs, but actual like board battles and whatnot. He's been crashing the net. He's been mixing it up. He's doing everything that you could ask of him outside of scoring goals.
Like, that's the thing. Who'd you guys play last night?
San Jose.
San Jose. So there was a shift. I think it was during the third period that he was playing. It didn't lead to like a goal or anything like that, but like I believe it was like about halfway through the third period, San Jose had two guys on the board. Kirby Doc was right behind them on the board as well.
Yep.
Okay, so you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
He had a fantastic read where the San Jose Sharks guys try shuffling it out onto the blue line. He intercepts it like, along that board, sends it into the middle of the ice, and then the Hawks start a 5-man cycle like that. That is the sort of play that you want from top line caliber guys. It didn't result in a goal. That's fine. But you get enough of those chances, eventually one of those is going in.
Yep. And that's exactly it. Again, I'm looking at him sort of the same way I'm looking at Jonathan Toews. They're both doing everything right. Toews has been phenomenal this year. He's killing the faceoffs. He's defensively responsible. Like, he's generating play. They're both doing everything right. Just Doc's at least got a few goals. Toews is still looking for his first one, but the difference is Doc is only getting better every year. Whereas whatever Toews does, I'm thrilled. I'm just glad he's healthy and safe. Doc, I can see the steps. I can see the critical thinking. I can see the play reading. I can see winning the battles and the drive. He's gonna improve. And that hard work and playing the game right will translate. I feel better for him. I feel better about his play than I do about Kubalik's.
Kubalik has been kind of a letdown this season.
I would say, again, I was one of the people that, I know it sounds crazy. I was someone that would have been okay trading him last year when his stock was still high. I just don't see, he's very much, DeBrincat is an example of a goal scorer that has diversified his play so that when he's not scoring, he is still all over the ice. Kubalik is that one-dimensional goal scorer that if he's not scoring, he's not really active anywhere else. That's what he got bumped down to. He's been bumped down to the third line like the last two games. Mm-hmm. He's someone that I'm much more worried about than I am with Doc, with Toews, even with a Kurashev who can still hone his game down in Rockford. I'm worried about Kubalik because when the offense dries up, I'm not seeing him shift mindset to, well, this is what I gotta do to stay, not a liability.
Yeah. I mean, like, you compared him to, Alex DeBrincat. The thing is, like, when Alex DeBrincat's not on the scoreboard, he's still helping to really contribute offensively. Like, whether it's just move pucks around the boards or if it's helping like drag guys around the board so that players are getting pulled off of other players to get open. Like,
or if he's fighting somebody, I'd rather see Kubalik get into a fight than DeBrincat, frankly. I don't know. It worries me that I'm not seeing the ability to adapt. Mm-hmm. And Kubalik even joked. He's like, yeah, people have been saying, stop going 5-hole, stop going 5-hole. It's like, well, then stop. Like, if you're predictable, it's the thing that I always hear about when somebody would talk about Panarin, where you have no idea where that puck is going to go when it gets off his stick because of like the way he plays and like his style, just like, it doesn't even matter where he's aiming at. The puck could go a whole different way. Kubalik, they've figured him out. And now what? We've talked 1,000 times about adaptability, whether you're a coach, whether you're a player, that is how you survive in the league.
I mean, I think I caught flack from Nick for it last season. I thought you guys should have traded Kubalik last year.
I agree with you. And I think that Nick and I disagreed on that, if I remember correctly. I just don't see him. I don't see us re-signing him. Frankly, not for what he's going to cost. With Jones going up to 9.5 mil next year, with everything else kicking in. Right now, Kubalik's going to want a certain amount, and I don't know if I'm comfortable shelling it out.
Like, let's say Kubalik wants 5 million or whatever. Like,
No.
he had the 130 goal season, and that's it. Like,
he had a good season last year. That is not to diminish a good season last year, but it wasn't that first year.
It feels like our issues with Mantha.
Yeah.
Where Mantha had that one phenomenal goal scoring season, and then he just was non-existent. Like, the season we traded him, there was many periods of time where Jordan and I were like, he's invisible and not in a good way.
And like, that's the thing, like we talked about, the right kind of invisible, right? Where like, you're not doing anything wrong to get attention. Kubalik is not invisible for that reason. He's invisible because just what is he doing?
Kubalik's a guy you're supposed to notice. And what I think of, again, this would be a nightmare scenario for him. Brett Connolly was a pretty consistent 30-goal scorer. That is nothing to sneeze at. Like, he's had some phenomenal goal scoring years, and that is his thing, is he's a goal scorer. The problem is when he's streaky or when he dries up, there's not anything to justify the contract outside of, we need you to score goals. That's why he's in Rockford now. Like, a guy of Brett Connolly's scoring caliber should be in the NHL. Realistically, on the Hawks, where we're desperate for scoring, Brett Connolly scores goals. It says a lot that they don't trust any of the other play or the consistency of goal scoring to have him there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the Hawks in a nutshell right now. Fleury is still standing on his head for us. Lankinen had a great game against the Blues. I'm always happy when the Blues lose, frankly. I thought defensively we were really sound against San Jose. I think the 2-0 score is deceiving, given the fact that the second score was an empty net.
Right.
Frankly, our defense and our goaltending can only do so much if we don't score. And that's where the Hawks are at. They need to score.
That's kind of been it this whole season for them, though. They need to score goals.
Drives me up a wall. We got too much offensive talent. That doesn't make any sense to me.
We can transition over to the Red Wings if you guys are all right with that.
Absolutely. I've said all I can say about them for now.
So the Red Wings have a couple things to talk about, and a lot of these are going to be really just quick notes to touch on. The first, Sebastian Cossa has been putting up, I think it's like a 2.14 goals against average, and playing for the Edmonton Oil Kings. Generally speaking, in the NHL, a starting caliber goaltender puts up anywhere between I think it's like a 1.92 and a 2.2 goals against average. That's starting caliber goaltender numbers. If those numbers continue to track with them over to the NHL, that's good. And what is he? He's gonna go 2 years over playing for the Oil Kings, assumedly. Then the last 2 years before he's gonna have to sign with the what is it? Not the entry level contract. His last 2 years he's gonna have to play probably with Grand Rapids Griffins if he doesn't make the NHL for the Wings. But still, the fact that the Wings have a goaltender who's putting up starting caliber goaltender numbers in a development league, that's good. We haven't had something like that in a long time. And again, I know it's a really small sample size. We haven't seen this over a full season yet, but it's still good to have high quality pieces in your pipeline.
He is a great young goalie. Eisenman obviously saw something to use a first round pick on him.
Right.
I'm excited. I'm just imagining, a couple years from now, he's gonna be ready for, the call up, and he's gonna be behind our hopefully more veteran goaltender Ned, and just a 1-2 punch of them just makes me, salivate a little.
I was just gonna say, like, this is exactly what you hope for, right? Like, yes, it's in juniors. Yes, we have no idea if it's really going to translate or if he's, whatever, but it's a reason to be excited. If Kosa can spend this year, next year in the juniors, do a year in Grand Rapids, and then the next year as a backup. I mean, you are putting him in such a good position to succeed because you're not rushing him and he's in the best place for his development right now.
That's the Red Wings MO. We don't rush players.
And your youth movement is reaping the benefits.
Yeah. I mean, we didn't rush Raymond and Sider, but they were like, yeah, we're going to play for you now. So
Raymond and Sider made the decision for them. They didn't rush him. They said, this is where you're ready.
Blashill's wife made the decision for Raymond.
That's fair.
But no, like that's awesome for Kosa to like be putting up good numbers in juniors. And like I said, are we still a long way out from seeing Sebastian Kosa at the NHL level? Yeah. Absolutely. We're probably, I think, another 3 years out. But good numbers are good numbers right now.
100%. Reason to be excited.
Speaking about goaltenders, though, I mean, Alex Nedeljkovic, he's got to be the starter for the Red Wings at this point, right? Like he has been absolutely awesome.
For sure. I'm trying to find the quote from Yzerman's interview when they asked him like how he got Ned for that low, and he was just basically, I don't know. You'll have to ask them.
That's such a fucking. That's excuse me.
But for a third round draft pick, like he looks like a starting caliber goaltender, and he's only inked to $3 million a year. Like
it's such a good contract because again, you don't know if 1 year's a fluke. And goalies are some of the most hot and cold players consistency wise throughout the league. Getting him on a 2 year, $3 million a year deal was your dream because it allows you to still rock, him and Grice. And it gives you you have this year, next year, and then you get to make a decision on whether he's your long-term guy until Kosa comes up. What a great position to be in. He's been great for you guys once he got acclimated.
Yeah, once he kind of got his, feet under him and figured out this team, he has been just standing on his head remarkable. Some of the saves he's made, like against St. Louis, that save and then diving rebound save was just a thing of absolute beauty. And I mean, the hair, the guy's got some flow too. I was watching ESPN Plus the game the other night, and they were doing like the warm-ups and stuff, and the cameras were they found Ned just putting water in his hair and just going through his hair, and my wife's like, what are you watching? And I'm like, shh.
It's a good head of lettuce.
Got the flow, man. Got the flow.
But no, like in my opinion, though, Alex Nedeljkovic is going to be the starter for the Red Wings moving forward, or at least I'd imagine he's got to be. Like Thomas Greiss has been okay, but I don't think I've watched a single game yet this season where I said Alex Nedeljkovic really threw this game away for the Wings.
Yeah.
No. Speaking of the youth movement, the Detroit Red Wings lead the NHL in points with players under the age of 25. And I think they're sitting at like 110 points right now with those players. Lucas Raymond and Moritz Seider are huge parts of that, but it's not just them. Like so many players in this roster are contributing to that point total. And it really shows Detroit has been embracing the youth movement throughout this rebuild. And they've still got, in theory, a little bit more time before they start getting to veteran status. And guess what? Before we get there, we're going to assumedly still pick up another, it's like probably two top 10 draft picks. Like the Red Wings are in a really good spot.
It's just so much fun. Like we're having a great time. Raymond, Seider, Ned, Zadina, even like, yes, he's not scoring as much as we want him to be, but he's involved. And I know we're going to talk more about him in a little bit, but the future's bright, man. And I'm excited. Like out of all the sports teams I follow, this is the one shining hope I have right now, and I don't want it to fade because then I have nothing.
Oh God. Oh God.
The Wings are like the only sports team in Detroit that you look at them and you're like, yeah, that team probably has a good future in like 3 or 4 years.
See, I taught someone when I was student taught in high school, and he's a sports like journalist now. Like he worked for MLB stuff as an intern. He has made the bold prediction that the 2010s is going to be the decade, or the 2020s is going to be the decade of Detroit, except the Lions.
I mean, sure. Well, let's not get
Because
crazy.
I mean, the Pistons' youth is building. The Tigers look like they're about to just break open their bank and just go again. And the Red Wings are the Red Wings. So he's making that bold prediction that the 2020s are the year of Detroit. And I'm all for it.
I mean, realistically, I'm looking at you guys and the way you've structured, the way you've drafted, and the way you've let guys cook and develop and not rush them, get them at their own pace. When they're ready, they're ready. And I'm looking at that compared to, and you didn't go crazy with trading away picks and trying to force anything either. There was a patience. I'm looking at the Hawks and our rebuild, our structure, our retooling, whatever you want to call it. We haven't been consistent, and we've jumped back and forth every other year. And now we're looking at a depleted prospect pool. We're looking at guys that got rushed too early. We traded away Adam Boquist. We've traded away youth. We've traded away different trade chips and whatnot. Where you guys are at, you are reaping the benefits of your down years, not because you've relied on draft picks or not because you've relied on a lottery pick or anything like that, but because you've drafted smart and you've actually followed a strategic plan. And you're starting to see that with the way your youth movement is driving your team.
Yeah.
I mean, you kind of look at the league and it seems, in my opinion, and maybe I'm biased because this is how like Detroit's doing it, but it really does seem like those teams that embrace a rebuild. And I'm not talking about just trying to go for the bottom and get like a Connor McDavid or a Jack Eichel or whatever.
Yeah, and that's not a tankathon. It's not a race to the worst.
Yes, like the teams who truly embrace a rebuild and say, okay, we could start selling draft picks for players. We could start, making all these trades to acquire whatever. The teams that just say, okay, we're going to trust our scouting department. We're going to try to draft players and get a team together for, 3 or 4 years down the line. It seems like slow and steady wins the race in the NHL, not in the short term, but in the long term. Like, if you look at a lot of the cup contenders right now, the Tampa Bay Lightning, their rebuild, like as great as they are right now, Tampa Bay Lightning were not always on top of the hockey world.
Nope.
The Washington Capitals were not always on top of the hockey world. Like Kuznetsov, Backstrom, Ovechkin, John Carlson, the Caps took time to draft and develop those players.
I mean, they're not as great right now, but the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Yeah, the Pittsburgh Penguins.
I have friends who are Penguins fans, and they had a rough period.
Like Crosby and Malkin stepped in and were great players, but Pittsburgh did not win really consistently be a playoff team until they started finding more depth pieces that stepped up and helped them get there long term.
Even if you look at teams like Colorado and Boston is another one that I think of, as much as I hate to say it. Look at the amount of guys on that team, on both of those teams, that were drafted, grown, in-house grown players. And look at where they're at. They haven't tried to, your free agency moves are to put you over the top when you've got something established. And for me, when you're, to your point, Jordan, when you sell the farm and you say, we're done, we're tanking, we're going to race to the bottom, we're going to sell off, it's a fire sale, you run the risk of destroying your culture.
Yep.
You run the risk of these young guys coming in and not learning what it is to win, not learning what it is to have a drive or a passion for it. You're just in this losing mindset, this losing culture. And I think that great, you got the number 1 overall pick or the number 2 overall pick. At what cost?
Mm-hmm.
That's the
Buffalo.
scary thing.
Buffalo.
Yeah, Buffalo is exactly what I think of. Again, they're having a halfway decent year for being a terrible team.
It's not a Stick Blade podcast till we crap on Buffalo.
Arizona is another one.
Arizona's a great example.
Arizona is the perfect example because they haven't won any. They haven't won a first round pick. They've been terrible, and they've consistently been terrible. They haven't developed well. They haven't created a strong culture since Shane Doan left. Honestly, he was a driving force in their culture.
They have no identity.
They have no identity. Or worse, the identity they have is a negative one.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that is not a simple fix.
That's at least the Oilers have McDavid and Draisaitl, who are they might be dragging that team, just forcing them along.
Edmonton has a history.
Exactly. Edmonton has a history, and they've got players that want to win in spite of everything, and that forces you along. Arizona doesn't have anything.
Literally, like, every time the Wings have played Arizona, especially during like our prime years, like the last decade, we always joked it was just Joe Louis Arena 2, because you would hear more Red Wings fans cheering than you would hear Coyote fans, and it was sad.
Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty common. I mean, the Hawks are the same. The Hawks were the same way. It's just whatever team's in there. I don't know. Maybe we see the Coyotes become the Quebec Coyotes.
Quebec needs a team again.
And Arizona doesn't.
No. You brought up Colorado earlier, and it made me think. I was actually looking today. There's a website I go to during election time called 538.
Oh, yeah.
But they do such great sports coverage too.
Really?
And like collecting statistical data, like they make their predictions like on a weekly basis of like who's going to win the Champions League, who's going to win this. Their two favorites right now to win the Stanley Cup are Colorado and Carolina.
I love Carolina.
We have a 8% chance of, I think, either making the playoffs or Stanley Cup final.
Probably.
You guys have a 7% chance.
I was gonna say it's probably better than us at this point.
It's such a fun
you guys
website.
are. I've never looked at them for not election coverage.
If you go to 538 and you just click on their sport tab, it breaks down like so many great sports articles plus like predictions.
I know what I'll be doing tonight. Fantastic.
We can touch back to the Red Wings though really quick because we went on a bit of a tangent there.
Oops.
That's us though. We always go on tangents.
A couple more pieces of news to talk about. Joe Veleno is out with an upper body injury, and then Danny DeKeyser, I believe, is off with COVID protocol. I'm not trying to be harsh, but I'm not upset that Danny DeKeyser's not playing with the Red Wings, if I'm being completely honest. Like we talked about this last week, I think, but Moritz Seider basically was having to drag DeKeyser, and even then it was not pretty.
Yeah, we were complaining about it the other night. Like, why is our star young defenseman who we want to build and improve upon, who looked great with Nick Leddy, playing with someone who he has to kind of carry the weight of? It's not fair to him, and it's not fun to watch.
Joe Veleno being out with upper body injury, it sucks because I think he's the Wings' best prospect who did not make the team out of camp. You hate to see it because this kid, you're expecting him, when the Wings are in like their cup contending window, you probably expect him to be like a middle six piece, but he's out. So I'm trying to remember who they recalled from Grand Rapids.
I just saw that today. Chris Allison? I can't see it.
Was it him or was it Chase Pearson?
No, someone just got called up today. Chris.
But either way, Veleno's off the team, which that sucks. I don't think they've said how long it's going to be, but you hate to see it, especially with a young player who could be, like I said, a middle six piece when Detroit is contending, a guy who could play basically third line center after, Dylan Larkin and whoever their next center is going to be, or
Kyle
Crusullo. So that kind of sucks. And then the last piece of news that I really want to talk about is like we talked about the Jeff Blashill blender just a minute ago with like, lines getting juggled all the time. I admit Zadina, in like full disclosure, I have a huge man crush on Philip Zadina. I think he's got so much potential that's just waiting to be unlocked. I've been saying it, I think, all year. I think that if he was placed with Dylan Larkin this season, we'd be hyping him up the way we are Lucas Raymond. I don't understand why Jeff Blashill sent him down to the fourth line and sent him to play with what is basically a grinder line. Philip Zadina is not a grinder. You're not going to force him to be a grinder. That's not his play style. He is a shooting setup player similar to Gustav Nyquist. I think he's better than Gustav Nyquist. And I get Jeff Blashill wants to get him to click. This does not do that at all.
I mean, it sucks because we love Philip Zadina and we both hate the fans that think he's a bust, because he's not a bust.
No, he's ridiculous.
He came into the league, as we saw, as a shooter, a pure shooter, but he developed a phenomenal two-way game, and he is very smart with his passing and his heads up display. Like I said before, I'm waiting and praying that when Verona gets healthy, they make the second line pairing of Suter, Verona, and Zadina your check line. Like, I think they will click together perfectly. They have all the chemistry that they could build there. And then I love Fabry, but that means he's going to bump to the third line. But we could build a very strong third line.
Yep, that's not the worst thing in the world if Fabry's on your third line.
Like on a real cup contending team, that's probably where Fabry's at, to be honest. Like,
and that's what Max Goldman said.
Yeah, like on the Red Wings, is he forced to be on the second line? Yes, because Detroit doesn't have enough depth pieces to fill like a true second line for a contending team. But I think on a real cup contender, he is a third liner, which
is fine. Some of my favorite wing players that are in our cup runs were third and fourth liners: Cleary, Draper, Maltby. Like, that was one of my favorite lines.
But I thought that was such a weird decision by Blashill to move Philip Zadina to the fourth line, because that's not conducive to get him going. And that doesn't fit him at all.
And what's worrisome is he scored a goal. I hope Blashill's not like, well, maybe that's working, because no, that's not.
Yeah. No, it's working in spite of, not because of.
And it was a very ugly goal. They could have given it to anybody in that scrum. But
like his shooting percentage, like that's the other thing. Like it's not Zadina's not getting chances and generating chances. He has been so snake bit this season. Like I want to say his shooting percentage is in like the 3% or 4%. The league average is around like 8 or 9. So you would have to imagine on a regular season, he'd have almost double the number of goals that he's had right now. Like, I don't know. I don't get why you move a guy like that who you project to be a top 6 piece during your cup contending window to a fourth line role.
No. Are there any quotes or anything from him? Like, did anyone ask him about that? Have you seen anything?
I haven't
seen anything about it.
It's just such a strange choice to take one of your clear top 6 players and go fourth line. Not counting double shifting.
Right.
But like, that's where you're at. I don't know, that I don't see where that makes the team better.
It doesn't make the team better. Who'd they slot? I think they slotted Giovanni Smith onto the second line in his place.
I love Smith.
But he's not a second line player.
No, and certainly not at the cost of Zadina.
No. And like what were we saying? Like 2 weeks ago, like the Zadina Fabry Suter line, it was one of the best leagues teams at expected goals at 5-on-5. Like, the Wings need to win games, right? Okay, why are you breaking up what is arguably one of your top, like not like top 2 on the roster, but like literally top lines? Like, why?
It's annoying. If they're working, let them work, and they were working. Like, same with what we said earlier with Seider and Letty. Like, Seider was learning and working with him. I don't get it. I have more news from the Wings if we're good.
Okay.
So Calder Trophy Tracker, NHL panel has like done preliminary voting so far. Lucas Raymond is in first with 77 points, 10 first place votes. Moritz Seider is in second with 71 points, six first place votes. And Ned is actually in eighth with 8 points.
That's not a bad spot to be in, man.
No.
3 guys in the top 10 for Calder votes.
That's
Oh my God.
disgusting.
Drafting and developing works.
Yep. Now, hey, who am I to? I agree with you. I wish we did it.
God, can you imagine the Calder like finalist announcements and it's just like 3 Red Wing players?
Yeah, I can. I hate it.
We can transfer over to the NHL really quick because there are only 2 stories really quick that I'm aware of. The first, Brendan Lemieux, basically like he got into a scrum with Brady Tkachuk, and I haven't actually watched the clip, but I'm just everything that I've been reading online basically it sounds like Brendan Lemieux bit him on the hand.
So I watched it a
Yeah.
few times, and there's a part where they're on the ground moving around, and Chuck holds up, I think it's his other hand going to the rest, like saying he's biting, he bit me. So you're like, huh, like what the hell's going on? And Chuck said to like him, enjoy your suspension. They have a past. There's apparently like a prospect thing where like they went at it and Chuck was like beating the piss out of him on the ground. So they don't like each other. And to Chuck's statement that he made that was relayed by a sports journalist or someone on Twitter, like
It's a rough state. It is one of the most scathing statements I have seen an NHL player ever say about another NHL player.
I read it and I audibly just went, damn.
Although I love the somebody pointed out, it's like there were so many different like harsh statements in there, but the worst thing that an NHL player can call another NHL player or a hockey player in general is bad guy. He's just a bad guy. And it's like,
damn.
Oh no, that's terrible. And like this isn't the first Tkachuk that's gotten, because Brendan Lemieux's with the Kings now, right?
Yeah, he's with the Kings.
Yeah. This is not the first Tkachuk to get into a heated public like confrontation with a Kings player. Yeah. So I don't know what the Kings did in general to the Tkachuk family, but because I think it's Matthew Tkachuk and Drew Doughty.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Jordan, did you see Darren McCarty's response?
Mm-mm.
Someone tweeted him, I'd love to hear Darren McCarty give his 2 cents. After all, there isn't anyone more qualified to talk about a dirty play from Emily Mew than DMAC. And he just wrote #genetics.
Yeah, no, Brendan Lemieux's been dirty. It's a guy that, I don't know, this is really harsh to say, and I'm not somebody that ever played like good hockey. I don't think Brendan Lemieux's in this league if not for playing with the edge that he plays with. He's a 4th line guy that he has the name, he's got the pedigree, but he doesn't have the skill or the ability. Like he plays on an edge. He's a 4th line grinder that you want on your team that does not know when to not overstep the line.
You said he has the pedigree. That just makes me think he is a stuck-up kid who's like my daddy or my mommy, and I can do what I want.
My dad and my uncle.
I'm gonna bite someone's hand, and it's.
Well, that's like I get it. Like I've been into you see red, but like there is that brief split second where you make a choice, and you go, "Am I gonna bite this dude's hand?" And like all of us would go, "Nah." I'm not going to bite this dude's hand. I'm going to, yeah. And he just takes a chunk. Like, what an absolute, like, buffoon.
Like, you're in a scuffle and you're like, we're both pushing each other, hitting each other. I could keep punching him. Or, hear me out, brain, I could bite him.
I would rather you're Brad Marchand and lick somebody's nose because you're just being a troll at that point. And then biting a dude.
Like, there's so many other things you can do when you want to fuck with someone. Sorry.
We're heated tonight, folks.
Like Johan Franzen taking Patrick Kane's mouth guard. Like, that's funny.
That's great. Look, as a Hawks fan, it's a great way to just like harmlessly get into somebody's head. There are so many better ways than like the Tom Wilson behavior or Brennan Lemieux's behavior.
Jimmy Howard just pie facing his sweaty, stinky glove on Sidney Crosby's face.
Panarin throwing his glove at Brad Marchand the other night, who also coincidentally got fined the exact same amount of money as Tom Wilson when he ragdolled Panarin last year.
Yeah.
We need to review that in the next CBA, but that's a different story for a different.
That was so funny. Behind the Raptors, screw you.
And what did Marchand come out and say when he was interviewed? Yeah, we were talking about Thanksgiving dinner. He didn't like what I ate. Like, he's like, look, I love and hate Marchand. He is so good at what he does. He's the epitome to me of a rat and a pest.
Sean Avery.
Yeah. Except I would be okay if Brad Marchand was on my team. Don't know if I'd be thrilled if Sean Avery was on my team.
My favorite Sean Avery moment, because him and Brodeur just hated each
other. Oh, gosh. Sean Avery had that effect on people.
I'm sure his own mother hated him, but that's besides the point. Was him standing in front of him waving his stick, just like,
I mean, I part of me loves it. But again, Andrew Shaw was my favorite Blackhawk.
But there's so many other things you could be doing. If you're fighting with somebody, just fight with him. Why stoop to a bite?
And like bites are dangerous.
Yeah.
Like, and of course, punching somebody that had given him CTE is not dangerous, but biting someone is such a weird off limits. Like, what's the first things with boxing? It's like no biting, no kidney, no rabbit, whatever that is. Biting is just something that if you're fighting, it's off limits. I don't know. That's a bonkers thing.
Like, I hope they.
I can't wait for the rematch.
Knowing our luck, they're just gonna say $200 fine. I mean, we saw what happened with what game was it? Was this past week where the guy scored the overtime winner, and the dude freaking chopped his leg with a stick.
Oh yeah, that was such a baby move.
I don't think he got anything for it. Maybe a small slap on the wrist fine.
Yeah, it's a stunad choice. What are you gonna
do?
What else we got in the NHL, Jordan?
The last piece of league news. I'm gonna sum it up like this: Ovi gonna Ovi.
It's on my doorsteps.
He's looking to break another goal scoring record. Shocker. He's one goal away from having. I'm trying to remember who's overtaking.
Dave.
Come on, you had this earlier.
But either way, Ovi's about to surpass another person in power play goals.
He'll lead
sorry, I'm gonna jump in. There it is. So it's Dave Andrechuk.
And with passing him, he will be the number one power play goal scorer, correct?
So he's at 274. Andrechuk is, and Ovechkin's at 273, and I think he had a hat trick against the Panthers.
Yeah, he did. It was Panthers,
and I think maybe one or two of them was power play goals.
He'll pass it by Christmas.
Oh, he's gonna.
I have no doubt in my mind he'll pass it by Christmas.
And there's no one else really close to him that's still currently playing.
Ovechkin's gonna go down as the best pure goal scorer of all time, 100%. And even I think we all said this last week. Even if he doesn't break, Gretzky's record or whatever, he's putting up these stats in a dead puck era.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. And the thing is, we always joked he has his spot that's where he scores from, and no one does anything. They're like, I mean, this is where he's shooting. We could stop him. No, we can't.
But Ovi is so good at what he does that everyone's figured him out. It's not like they don't know what's coming.
They just can't stop.
He does okay, cool, and he does it again and again. I love it. I love Ovi.
He's good. I'm not a Caps fan.
No, neither am I.
Living in this area, but I like Ovi.
Yeah.
That's it, I think, for all the news that I have on the docket for tonight. We can go ahead and move to the flashback and the flash forward segments really quick.
Sounds good.
Let me pull up the schedules really quick.
Yes.
So I get the same advertisement for some bank with it's Ovechkin and his wife
All right.
talking.
Oh, the one with
Ovechkin's
Nick
had some killer.
Backstrom.
Yep.
Yeah. What then? Why is he always here for breakfast? And I die every time because I just caught like the most recent time I watched it when it pans to like the wedding photo. The wedding photo is smaller than the photo of him and Backstrom holding up a puck. And I'm just like, that is the
That's
best.
hilarious. That's such a good little detail.
All right, everybody. So I
Schedule
got the
time.
schedules in front of me. So this part of the show, we call it the flashback, and then we call the next segment the flash forward. Basically, what we do in the segment is we break down the week that was and the week that's going to be for both the Chicago Blackhawks and the Detroit Red Wings. We started with the Blackhawks news, so we'll go ahead and just start with them in both of these segments. Chicago had 3 games this past week. They had a game versus the Calgary Flames, a game versus the St. Louis Blues, and a game versus the San Jose Sharks. The Calgary Flames is a 5-2 loss. The St. Louis Blues is a 3-2 overtime win. And then the San Jose Sharks is a 2-0 regulation loss. I thought that Chicago should have won the San Jose game, if I'm being completely
I do too.
honest. I don't know, just for whatever reason, they seemed like they were doing everything right. It seemed like they just were not getting the payoff.
And that's exactly what it was. I mean, I thought this was one of our most defensively responsible games. I want to say we outshot them as well, which is uncommon for us. Fleury had a .952 save percentage. He saved 20 shots on 20. It saved 20 of 21 shots. Again, like I said earlier, it's a little deceiving that it was a 2-0 game just because that last one was an empty net. For reference, the Hawks had 29 shots on goal versus 21, which it's not often that we're out shooting an opponent, but Reimer made 29 saves. So maybe they were doing a good job of limiting us to perimeter and like easier shots, but I can't really complain about the San Jose Sharks game. We're better than that. I think that we can beat the Sharks. I mean, I'm glad that we beat the Blues, and I think I had us down for beating the Blues. That said,
pick the Blues, you said.
Yeah, I could never think that we would not beat the Blues. Lankinen did a great job with that game. Hagel scored a goal. I think DeBrincat scored a goal in that game. It was gritty. It was that new identity that we're developing of like being a gritty, grinding team. Mm-hmm. Okay. Like if that wins us games, awesome. I knew we were going to lose to the Flames. They're unstoppable right now. The Flames are phenomenal.
They're on fire.
That said, always. That said, Reese Johnson got his first goal, which was exciting for him. Hagel got a goal. So Hagel's our second best goal scorer on the team below DeBrincat. So how do you like that?
Hagel's bagels, baby.
He's all over the ice. I love it. But again, I give our goaltenders a lot of credit this week, and I give our defense a lot of credit. The Flames are one thing. The Flames, there was some wonky goals there. There was a Tkachuk goal right at the end that was pure. Even he would have said, stick hit, it ricocheted, it went in. Awesome. And that's hockey. I'm not mad with how we played against the Flames, but all in all, we took a game against the Blues and we tightened up our play a little bit. So I don't have a lot to complain about, even if we lost 2 out of the 3.
Mm-hmm. The Wings actually had a somewhat decent week this week. Let me pull the schedule really quick. So yeah, the Wings, we played the St. Louis Blues as well this week, a 4-2 win over them. Good. Also a 3-2 overtime win versus the Buffalo Sabres. And I mean, yeah, it's only 2 games. And I was actually surprised that we beat the Blues, to be completely honest. I don't know. I thought that they should have lost that game. Buffalo, Lucas Raymond, another overtime goal. this kid, like, I can't praise him enough. Lucas Raymond has looked so good this season.
Money. He's
What
money.
was it like? Not even a minute into overtime, and he scores.
26 seconds. And it was a beautifully drawn up play. They had Rasmussen on. Raymond was not on. Rasmussen does what he does, won the face-off, immediately got off the ice. Raymond came on, boom. It was just a nice drawn up little play there.
But no, just not a bad week from Detroit, like standings wise. I think the team still has a lot to work on defensively still, but I mean, like I said, you took your defense pair that was really working in Sider and Letty, and you broke them up this week. Hronik finally played with, Nick Letty this week, and I don't know, it's two offensive defensemen, in my opinion, getting paired with each other. I don't think that's a recipe for success.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm at least happy that Detroit won a game this week. And I think
games too.
well, I mean, like I think they legitimately won a game this week, though. Like, I think the Buffalo Sabres game, they actually deserve to win.
What about St. Louis?
Yeah, I feel like that was sort of like a goaltender absolutely stole that game, though. St. Louis could have been in that game a lot farther.
Yeah.
I mean, what was your takeaways this week, David?
I think the team looked good, minus, putting Zadina on a fourth line and Sider with DeKaiser. I think they worked well. Larkin looked great. Ned was out there flowing. I'm excited for this week. I don't think tomorrow's going to go great, but who knows? They've surprised us before.
I mean, I'm just happy that the team isn't, like I said, laying over and dying this season. That was 2 seasons ago, and it was painful.
I know. That was the season when they said 60 minutes of hell, and it was 60 minutes of hell for us to watch. But now it actually feels like it, so I'm excited. Players of the week.
Yes, player of the week. Tim, who is the player of the week for the Hawks?
I'm going to go with Brandon Hagel.
Okay.
I mean, scored a goal against the Flames, scored a goal against the Blues, all over the ice in a week where our wins and our play were a lot more team driven around, combination of goalie success, combination of defensive success, and not a lot from the forwards. I got to go with Hagel, who just continues to drive play, and being a guy who a year ago was a relatively unknown and is now second on our team in goals scored.
There you go.
I got to go with him this week.
I think Nick would pick the same if I'm being honest.
He very well might have. I might go with Fleury, but I think Hagel's a good choice.
Now, Jordan, I want you to go first because I have a weird feeling we might be on the same page.
I got to say Lucas Raymond, man.
Oh, we're not. Ooh.
I love it.
I love it, though.
The OT winner versus Buffalo, awesome sauce, just great goal. He had a goal in the St. Louis game as well, and then he assisted on Larkin's goal. So you have an overtime goal that wins a game. You've got a regulation goal, and you set up an assist. Like, for a rookie, that's not bad.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
So for me, I actually was thinking about Raymond as well, but I thought we were going to be on the same page here. I picked, good old Ned.
Okay.
He had a phenomenal week. I mean, I was dying watching him in the St. Louis game because that game could have been a much bigger score against us. With all the saves he made, he stopped St. Louis in their tracks on multiple occasions. I think he's finally finding his footing. And like we said, I think he's the starting goaltender going forward after this week. I think he's going to get more of the starts now, and I'm all for it. I mean, I love him. God bless Yzerman with his brilliant tacticians, robbing people blind.
I love
it.
Do
you have 35 saves in the St. Louis game?
He had, because I have Buffalo, he had 26 saves. And the Blues game, he was the first star of the game with 35 saves.
That's not a bad week either for a rookie, quote unquote, rookie goaltender.
it's not Bernier, please God, defenseman, help me numbers, but
It's
good.
not bad.
Yeah.
Not bad.
Bernie had like 40 saves on I forget what team it was one year. He's like, just please stop them.
Please clap.
We can go ahead and
Jeb
do
Bush.
we can do the flash forward this week if you guys are all right with that as well.
Oh, I'm ready for it. Fantastic.
So the week moving forward for the Chicago Blackhawks, at least, pulling up December schedule because it's going to be December, and what is it?
It is. We've got Thursday, December 2nd. We're playing the Capitals. Saturday. So it's a pretty like compact back half of the week because Thursday we've got the Capitals. Saturday, December 4th, we've got the Rangers, and then Sunday, December 5th, we're playing the Islanders. So 3 games this week. Again, all in the back half of the week. But it is a tough one because I don't like our odds. I don't like our odds against the Capitals. We're not, our offense isn't there right now. And we're not, I mean, my God, what are we going to do? Stop Ovechkin? I just don't feel confident right now. If our offense was buzzing, I'd say we could maybe outscore them. But I think it's a loss against the Capitals. I think it's a loss against the Rangers because I really like this Rangers team. I had a lot of doubts with the way that moves were made in the offseason. I thought there were some reactionary moves, but I think Shesterkin's a top 5 goalie in this league. I really do. And this team is on fire. It's clipping even without getting a lot from Lafreniere and Kako. And the more those two get comfortable, I just don't see this team slowing down. I think we beat the Islanders though.
The Islanders have not been as good as everyone projected.
That's exactly it.
Haven't they been having a lot of COVID issues though?
But they weren't doing well before the COVID issues.
I
guess that's my thing. If I thought it was just the COVID issues, I'd be like, if they get better, they're better again. But
kind of regretting my preseason picks now.
I've never picked anything right. So anything I pick is doomed. But I think loss against the Capitals, loss against the Rangers, but we're going to win against the Islanders.
Okay.
2-1 week is not bad. And I think I agree with your predictions, Tim. I think those are all fair.
Yeah. I just don't see I don't see the other two pulling out.
The Wings only have 2 games coming up this week as well. They have a game versus the Seattle Kraken on Wednesday, and then they play the New York Islanders on Saturday.
We have Boston tomorrow.
Oh yeah, Boston is tomorrow. Sorry. 3 games. I had December schedule still pulled up, but so they have 3 games: the Boston game, the Seattle game, and then the New York Islanders game. It's going to pain me to say it. Boston should be a loss.
Yeah.
It should be, but there's always hope. We beat Edmonton.
That's true.
But I think Boston's a loss. I agree.
Seattle, I think, is a win. I don't know. I haven't been impressed with Seattle this year.
They're not Vegas.
The thing is, Seattle, I get a lot of teams, after they saw what happened with the Vegas expansion, they kind of were better prepped. But Seattle still had a lot of good players they could have picked from other teams. And I don't know. I don't know what's going on with Grubauer because he has not looked good playing for Seattle. And 2 seasons ago, Philip Grubauer looked like a certified starting goaltender.
Last season, he was a certified starting goaltender.
Yeah, I don't know. Their goaltending has not been good in Seattle, and I don't think the team in general has been playing that well. And then the New York Islanders have not been playing as well as they did last season.
Mm-hmm.
I think Boston's a loss, but the other 2 are absolutely winnable games. So I think the Seattle game should be a win by a large margin.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's a 2-1 week for us as well.
I don't have anything else on the docket unless you guys have something else you guys want to talk about before we close out the show.
Seattle just beat the Buffalo Sabres 7-4. that's not great for the Kraken because it should have been not 4 goals against from Buffalo, but like it's an interesting. Oh, Arizona Coyotes got a shutout. Now get this, a 1-0 shutout. Their goalie made 46 saves
Holy
against
snipes.
Winnipeg.
Holy smokes.
Run to a brick wall.
Any night of the week can win in the NHL.
That's
parity.
About it. Yep.
Yep.
That's the thing that I really like about this league is a lot of other leagues try to claim that there's parity, but let's be honest here. The New England Patriots and the Detroit Lions are not on the same tier, or like, I'm going to throw some shade your way, Tim, but like the Titans are not on the same level as the Chicago Bears.
I'll be the first. And like, to me, basketball is the big one that always comes up. That there isn't a lot of parity in basketball.
Basketball, you just build super teams and it gets annoying.
Exactly. You can't do that and I know there's a lot of complaints about the salary cap, and I agree. There's got to be a way to rework the salary cap. Maybe, I can't even pretend to get into it right now about all the different concepts and ways you could do that. But the one thing I will say, I love the fact that any game in this league on any given night can be exciting.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing, the margin between a lot of like the bottom 6 players on every given team, it's not usually a huge night and day difference. Like your top end players, sure, you'll see pretty big changes, but those bottom 6 guys who are playing almost half the game, a lot of those guys are pretty similar in skill level just because of the way that the salary cap works.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can't just give every player $5 million. Like,
right, exactly.
You have to play guys who are only making $1 million a year, or who are making, maybe $2 million a year. Like, you can't just load up on $5-6 million players throughout your whole lineup.
Unless your state doesn't have an income tax.
That's what's unfortunate about baseball, how there is no salary cap. So you get the Dodgers and the Yankees and Boston, and it's just, that's it.
Yeah, no, I don't care for that. I want more of that parity. I don't care for some of the way that the salary cap makes asset management difficult at times. Not that I don't enjoy the challenge, but I think it is sometimes a little more difficult than it needs to be, and even hurting mid-range players and what they can earn versus other leagues. But yeah, love the parity, love the competition.
Yep.
But yeah, like I said, I think that's everything that I had on the docket for tonight's show. For anybody who tuned in or listened to the show tonight, we really appreciate you guys checking out the show. At the end of the day, it's a podcast. It's by fans for fans. There's no corporate sponsorship or anything like that. I mean, this is really, we do this because we enjoy doing it and because we like sharing it with you guys. So if you liked what you heard or watched, please feel free to give us a like, follow, share, retweet, whatever the social media currency of choice is on the platform that you found us. We're on Facebook, just type in Stickblade Podcast. We're on YouTube, again, Stickblade Podcast will show up. The Twitter handle is at Stickblade Pod, all one word, no underscores or anything like that. You can get in touch with us via the old-fashioned email. If that's the route you want to go, stickbladepodcast@gmail.com. We're on Apple Podcasts as well. So whatever your podcast platform is of choice, we're probably on there. I haven't figured out how to get us on Spotify yet, but I'm slowly trying to figure that out. But yeah, feel free to give us any sort of like feedback, criticism, stuff like that on the show, because I mean, we're trying to make this show better for you all. And that also helps us grow. It's nice to get fan mail every once in a while. So if you have something, feel free to send it our way. We always like enjoying the content that you guys send us, because sometimes, I mean, especially I think it was last off season, we had a couple times where someone would give us a topic to talk about. It was fun to do. So
we miss you, holy moly, what a goalie. We miss you.
So feel free to send that stuff to us. We really appreciate it. In the meantime, though, this has been another edition of the Stickblade Podcast. And for your host, Jordan Lynn Scott, my co-hosts, David Barnhouse and Tim Stompanato, this has been another edition. You guys take care, stay safe. And in the meantime, let's enjoy what's going on in the NHL. We'll catch you guys next week.